Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the HennyPennyMakes podcast. I'm Erin, the yarn dyer behind HennyPennyMakes, and I'm also a colour therapist and rainbow lover. I like lots of colour and pack as much as I can into everything I make. So if you like colour, you've found the right place. I I love watching podcasts and seeing what other people are making, getting ideas, and finding the people that are just right for me. So I've had a few requests to start a podcast, and I thought it was about time. I'm much more comfortable behind the camera rather than in front of it, but it's about time that I show myself a bit more. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoy everything that you see, and if there's anything else you want to know or anything that I don't explain, I'll try and put everything in the links below the video. But if there's anything that I don't go into and you want to know more, just get in touch and ask. I'm always happy to answer questions if I can, or help you with anything. So HennyPennyMakes, I started it a few years ago. I had a very difficult, our whole family did a very difficult year in 2016. A lot of challenges and a lot of happiness too. But one of the hardest things was that we lost my dad very suddenly, and I lost my job at the same time, just around the same time, and it kind of made me think, well, I've always wanted to have my own business. If I'm going to do it, now is the time. It's a now or never kind of situation, and you've got to make the most of life and live it to the max if at all possible. It's not always easy, but I decided to follow my heart and do what I've always loved, which is work with colour. And I love making. We're a very kind of creative and crafty family, and I'm lucky that I was brought up with lots of talented people around me to help me find my natural crafts and ability. So and I'm lucky now that I'm getting to do that with my own little girl too. She's very creative as well, and I love that. I love that she loves colour just like I do. So I wanted to share that with other people too. I love knitting. It's funny, as a child I did not have the patience to knit. I used to try and then get very frustrated and give up, whereas I could do most other things. But now as an adult, it's my go-to for peace, for taking my mind off things. Anytime I'm anxious, it really helps. Same as crochet, and it's a comfort. So it felt right that I put two things that bring me a lot of happiness together, and start my own business. So I've been gradually trying to build it up over the last few years to find what's right for me. I love mini skeins. I do love bigger amounts of yarn too, but I love working with minis so I can get as much colour without having excessive amounts of yarn around me. Although my husband would say my stash is excessive, but never mind. So a lot of the things I make usually involve minis or combining lots of colour, if at all possible. But I've been trying to build up my semi-solids, because I love being able to combine with more variegated yarns. I like being able to combine the semi-solids. So I'm gradually working on a bigger range that are available as dyed to order at all times in my shop. And then I make lots of like bundles like this as well that I usually have available. It depends. And another thing that I love is anything scrappy. So I often put together little packs like this, little 5-gram bobbins of scrappy packs. It's just fun to work with scrappy projects, and occasionally I make patterns, just simple patterns that people can use to, like this cowl. It's available on my website. I'll give the details shortly, and that just uses little scrappies. I like to make things as fun as possible, and it's completely unique to you. So that's always my aim with anything that I create, is that you take it and you make it yours. Because when we make things, it should be a reflection of ourselves and what we love, I think. So first of all, where you can find me. I'm on Instagram and Facebook as HennyPennyMakes. I have a website which is hennypennymakes.co.uk, and you can also email me at any time. It's hennypennymakes@hotmail.com. I love to speak to people and help anyone find the right colours, the right project, whatever it is for you, something to combine with what you've already got, or just inspire you to try something completely different. I also love to hear about patterns that are perfect for minis and scrappies and things, or combining colours in any way. So if anyone has any suggestions at any time, I would love to hear them, because it's just nice. It's nice to be able to support different designers. It's nice to be able to try new patterns, old patterns that have maybe not gotten the attention they deserve, anything that is creative and fun. I just love that. So I would love to hear any suggestions that you have. Right, I am hoping with the podcast to share what I'm working on currently, obviously, but also try and highlight one, maybe not every episode, but now and again, one pattern that I love and can highly recommend. I am also going to try and do an accountability thing so that I finish projects, because I love working on things, but I get very distracted sometimes with a new pattern, a new project, and I'm inclined to set things aside for a few months at times, or leave it with just the ends to weave in, which is terrible, and then it just sits there waiting. So I'm going to have one accountability thing each episode. And I love blanket making, so I'm going to share some blankets that I'm working on. I've got a lot, so I won't share them all every week, but I'll share what I like making. It's mainly crochet and mainly granny squares, because that is me. I'm a granny girl. Blankets are comforting to me. It was something that we used a lot when I was a kid. My mum, we used to sit at nights sometimes and crochet just with bits that she had left over from other things she'd been working on, make. We called them magic blankets, so they made us feel better when we were sick. They could become houses and castles and anything we wanted when they were draped over things, or hung on the washing line to make a tent, or they were magic. And so blanket making is more of a comfort to me. It's usually something simple, maybe like a granny stripe or a granny square, lots of them joined together. I don't tend to go for more complicated patterns, because that's my relaxation and my help me settle kind of project, whereas knitting tends to be more try different things. That's just the way I am. So if you might get a bit fed up with seeing granny squares, but it's what I love, and I'll always be a granny girl. Right, so that's my dog, if you can hear him barking. He's probably heard somebody walking past our house, and he's very protective. So he barks quite a lot when he hears people going about making a noise. We have Dalmatians, and I've grown up with them. In our family, it's just always been spotty dogs, so I just love spots. Okay, so when I started HennyPennyMakes, one of the things I had recently discovered was sock making, and I love making socks, although I don't tend to do quite as much as I used to when I first started. But one of the reasons I started was that I wanted to make a pair of socks in every colour of the rainbow. And this year, I'm sure you've heard already, but there's the Rainbow Chronicles sock along happening with Jules of So Sweet Violet and Kelly of the Lay Family Yarn. And I thought that's a fantastic idea, and a great chance for me to finally make my rainbow socks. So I started, and I'm already behind, massively behind, but never mind. I'm going to continue regardless, because it'll just be nice to eventually have socks that are in all the colours of the rainbow. So I'm working on 2 different kinds of socks so that I can have a collection. And the first ones are with 4-ply. I picked, I used to have quite a selection of mini skeins, but I've been trying to use them to make different bundles and scrappy packs and things. But at the start of the year I picked out like a good selection, and I'm lucky I've got quite small feet, so I'm just using 4 minis, and I'm making socks with like afterthought heels, and working my way through the colours each month. So I've tried to pick 1 variegated and 3 semi-solids, so that I get nice fun socks. So the pink ones were perfect, got them done in the month, no problem. The red ones were much later. It was sort of into the start of March, but I thought, well, it's okay, I can catch up, and I don't think that's going to happen, but never mind. But I'm really enjoying working my way through them. The orange ones, I have ends to weave in and heels to put in. Oops, sorry, but I'm loving just working with the different colours. It's so easy, and so much fun just to play with colour and make something and finally achieve one of my goals. So the yellow ones are the ones I'm working on just now, even though we're now into June. But it's just so much fun doing it that I don't mind. So eventually I will have a nice collection of rainbow socks. I'm hoping as well that I can maybe next year, if I manage to catch up at any point, I can put together little kits so that people can make their own socks based on the colours that I've used. I'm also hoping that I can maybe squeeze in a brighter red somewhere as well, because at the moment the orange and the yellow and the pink look very bright and the red just looks a bit deeper. But it depends on whether time's on my side or not. So I said I'm working on 2 different socks for the rainbows. I'm also this year running a colour therapy club. I trained as a colour therapist quite a long time ago. Can't remember exactly, a good 12 years ago I think. And colour's always been something I love. So I wanted to kind of share that with everybody, and I'm hoping at some point in the future I can put together an online course that you can sit and go through yourselves, to learn a little bit more about how colour affects us, how you can bring it into your life if there's certain colours that you don't like but you could do with the benefits of those colours around. Just learn more basically. But I wanted to start with a club that I could run through the business. So this year I've been doing the colour therapy club, and I have more packs but I just haven't got them here at the moment. I'm working on the May ones, or have been working on the May ones, which are green. But the first month I went with was pink, because I felt January you need a good boost of energy, and pink is a really good happy one. But after Christmas people don't tend to want to think about red, and red is energizing too, so I went with pink first because I think it's just nice and happy and bright. So these are my scrappy packs. I've got a couple left from each month of the club. So I decided to put, there's a little information sheet here, and for each month with a few properties and benefits of the colours, and like one thing to watch out for. If there's too much of a colour in your life, it can have a certain effect. And then I've got my reds. It's difficult with the lights to show quite right. And the oranges. And then I've got yellow and green, as I said. That's the next ones I'm working on. And I'm also making double knitting socks with the club. I've never made double knitting socks until I did these, but they were so quick and so easy that I thought I must make more. So I've done the pink ones. This one looks so bright compared to the others, but I just wanted them to be fun, and I also wanted to see how much you would get from 100 grams of double knitting yarn, because I really wasn't sure. My double knitting yarn base is a merino nylon one, so that it is suitable for socks. And I was surprised actually that I 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, yeah, used about 75 grams for a pair of socks, which I was really surprised. So I've got 25 left over. So at the end, I'm going to try and make some more rainbow socks using all the other bits and pieces that are left. But as I said, I've got sort of size 5 feet, so they are quite small. But I was really pleased that I had that much left over. I thought, well, that's good. Because often when you see double knitting yarn for socks, it's usually 150 grams, and I thought I might be pushed to get them, but I was pleased that there was so much left over. So I've started the red ones. As I said, I'm massively behind with things like that, but I will get them done. So all I've done so far is one leg. So that will be one of my accountability things for this episode, to try and get a bit more of that sock finished. Maybe the whole sock if I'm lucky, since it is so quick. And I've got the next couple of months lined up for doing them too. Especially this last winter, I found my feet were very cold, so I'm looking forward to having some double knitting socks that I can wear and keep cozy. So at the moment, that's the socks that I'm working on. I'm also with the club. I wanted to make a blanket. So as I said, I love blankets. So I've been using my Scrappy packs, these ones, and making squares with them, because I wanted to see how far it would go just as a little pattern I could write up, so that people would know if they bought one of my Scrappy packs, you can make this with it. So I've made little squares. I tried to pair them up, because in the Scrappy packs there are 10. Those ones have 10 bobbins, so it just worked perfectly to pair them up. So from each pack you get 2, like from each bobbin you'll get 2 squares using this little pattern, and I'm going to try and get them written up and joined the first few months anyway, so you can see together. But I was surprised actually just how far it went with crochet as well. So I've put together the colours of the packs. Hang on, you can see. It's so much fun just doing this. It's such a quick thing as well, actually working on a monthly project. I've not done that before. I usually just work on a project from start to finish and that's it. But it's nice to have something to pick up, do a bit of, and put it away again, and feel like I'm getting somewhere with it. So then I've got my reds, which are lovely in red. It was surprising actually, it was the hardest month to put colours together for, because red is quite a strong colour, and I didn't realise that it was one that I tend to avoid a lot of the time. Not completely, but it's the one I have the least of in my life, so it surprised me when I was working through it just how difficult it was to work with it. And then I did my oranges. I kind of went a bit deeper with a couple of the oranges. This one was kind of more like a blood orange colour. But I'm really looking forward to putting them together, and I've seen a few folk what they're working on with theirs, the blankets, so I have shared 1 or 2, and I'll be sharing more ideas on my social media over the next couple of months as well, because it's just nice to see what people do with the club. I know sometimes the element of surprise is a bit scary, so I understand sometimes it's nicer to see what somebody's done, especially this is my first club. It's nice for you to see what I've done with colour before you commit to something. I completely understand that. I like surprise in some senses, like at advent calendars, but I prefer usually to see what I'm getting. It depends on how much I trust the yarn dyer, really. So that's one of the blankets that I'm working on, so I have my greens to add to that soon. I am also making a couple of blankets as gifts for once. I'm trying to be organised in the lead up to Christmas, because I know the second half of the year always flies by, and then it's a panic to get things done. So I have 2 blankets that I'm working on that are very similar. I subscribe to a good friend of mine, Helen from Giddy Yarns. She ran a nostalgia club last year, and I love especially the sort of period from the 20s to the 70s, 80s. Absolutely love that time for colour and kind of just the influences on our lives. So when I heard about the club, I had to subscribe. and I gathered all the bundles. Didn't really know what I was going to do with it, but I decided to put together just a little, like a lap blanket for my mum and my mum-in-law. Very lucky that I have a really close and good family, and we get on very well. So I wanted to do something nice for them, for both my mum and my husband's mum, because I am very lucky. So I'm working on a blanket using those minis, and then I'm going to make one for myself afterwards as well. But I thought if I got started now, at least I should hopefully have it done by Christmas time. So I've started joining one of I've got most of one done already, and then I've started joining the second one. So I'll show you them. Where are the panels? Here. Yeah, so I've got a couple still to join. I made little panels for each. So Helen did a decade each month, from 1900s to the 2010s. That was what she did last year. So I think this one's the 80s block. So I've put, using the minis, I've put together these little blocks just for a bit of fun. I thought it'd be nice to keep the decades together. So I've joined these ones so far. This one here is the 1900s, and then it works down the way as 10s, 20s and 30s. So I've joined them so far. I think this one might be my mum's with the cream. Helen has a couple of the nostalgia. She did a main skein at the same time in a different colourway, and she did psychedelia for the 60s, and I thought that would be a nice one to edge this one for my mum. So I have another 4 blocks to put on, and then I might do a little bit more of the cream round that, and then an edging with another colour. And then I've joined the first 3 of my mum-in-law's one. I'm doing the grey because Helen also has a Star Wars one colour from the club for the 70s, and I thought my husband's family are Star Wars fans, it would be a good thing to do. So I love how the blankets are so similar, but they are just that little bit different because they've got the different edging. Shows how even grey and cream can have a totally different effect on colour. I think that one looks brighter and one looks slightly more muted. Maybe that's just me. But anyway, I'm really enjoying working on that. So, and it's nice just to have I like things like this, like the little squares from my colour blanket, or this, that just little things that are portable that I can take with me if we go somewhere in the car. I can just do a little bit, or I can pick up and sit down anytime I've got family around, and I don't need to worry. Sometimes I've got a granny stripe on the go as well, but sometimes it's just so big and bulky. I'm better with smaller things that I can then join together. It just works for me. So I've got those blankets at the moment that I'm working on, and I'm working on one for my sister. She's a big Harry Potter fan. So I subscribed to, she has been for years, she read, their teacher read the very first Harry Potter book to them when they were in like first or second year at primary school, and she's just always loved it. So when I saw Tracy of Norah George Yarns was doing a Harry Potter club, I had to subscribe to that. So I've made slightly bigger blocks for her so that I can put together like a patchwork blanket. So I've done 4 so far. She knows about it, so it's not a problem, and she absolutely loves it. She's so excited, and I'm going to pop a wee note in, the same as with the nostalgia ones. I'm going to pop a wee note in as to what each colour is a reference to, because I think it's just nice to know these. Well, I like to know these things. So I think they'll look fun when they're all joined together. And the good thing about this is I can lay them all out once I've made them and see what order looks best, because they're all kind of separate things anyway. So that's my blankets. I've got one more that I'll show you just now, and it's a kind of another accountability project, because this one was abandoned for a good while. I'm working on a Battenberg blanket, and I love this, but at the same time it's one of those ones that I kind of pick up and then get a bit fed up of after a while and put away. So I'm going to try and put another couple of rows on it before the next episode if possible. So when I do, I'll put little stitch markers so you can see which ones I've added. But a lot of this, some of them are little bits that I've had left over, but most are from yarn swaps that I've done. I've taken part in a couple of yarn swaps at Advent time, and last year I did a few, not last year, the year before, I did a few yarn swaps, organised it through my social media, because it's a nice way just to connect with people and to get to know other yarn lovers like ourselves. So this blanket's kind of special in that sense, for me, and I made a lot of squares I've got a lot to add, which is another reason I need to get this finished, because it is really pretty, but it's just making all the grey squares after a while, I think. But I do like it. It'll be nice to snuggle under once I'm finished. So, accountability. Finish the double knitting sock, if possible, and put another row at least on this. The last thing that I'm working on just now that I'll show you is a cardigan that I've been making. Please excuse the ends, because it's something I've been making up myself, so I left all the ends until I was sure that I was happy with it. I finished the sleeve this morning on this one. So I have lots of odd skeins of yarn, sock yarn, that I have picked up at different fairs or just seen online and fallen in love with, and then they've sat in my stash, and I thought, what am I going to do with them? Because I really don't have enough time to make socks and all of the yarns that I've got, much though they would be beautiful. I just don't have time. And I had quite a few that were like a slightly higher twist. So I decided, right, I'm going to make a blanket. I'm just going to knit a blanket, and it'll be something straightforward. And I'd seen Amy of Stranded Dyeworks, Amy Florence, doing like a garter stitch blanket, and thought, that looks lovely and squishy, I'll start that. So I started it, and then I thought, this would be really fun as a cardigan. So I decided to just have a go at it. And I've picked colours that contrast completely, because I wanted it to just be kind of block-like and fun and colourful and something cosy to cuddle up on the couch or to shove on if I was going out a walk with the dog or whatever. And it is lovely and cosy. It's going to be really nice to wear. So I've picked a good few colours out of my stash, joined them together, and then decided to make the sleeves. I thought about doing straight sleeves, but I know that they would get in my way when I'm making things. They'd end up in my cup of tea, or they'd end up like caught with the needles through them. So I decided to do like a wee cuff, so it makes a puffed sleeve. And I tried it on earlier, and I love it. So I have one more sleeve to finish, and then I'm going to try and write up the pattern and grade it so that it, and then I'll be looking for testers so that I could then release it later in the year, perfect for sort of autumn time for making cosy things and using up stash, because I know a lot of people anyway have lots of skeins that they love, but they don't really know what to do with. And it's nice to be able to wear things sometimes that are out and about and not just on your feet. Much though I love making socks, it's nice to be able to get the pleasure of seeing it on you. So I will be looking for testers if anyone would want to do it. It's really simple and really fun, and you could make it completely your own. I'm thinking of another one after this that would use, so it's fingering yarn, 4-ply held double. So I'm thinking of doing one that's got like a solid colour, maybe just a cream or a grey, and then lots of mini skeins. So it would make it completely colourful and completely mine. And I think it would be a really good stash busting project, because you could use anything that you've got. You could try and fade them together or blend them, or you could just make them really contrasting like I have. And it's lovely and squishy. And a very simple pattern. So if anyone would like to volunteer for that, I'd be delighted to have you as a tester. A lot of these I've picked up a couple of them I got in a in a sale. These are Norah George yarns. This one is part of the Perth Collaboration Club. I am taking part in it. I'm the dyer for August, so I'll be releasing my colour. Ava of Perth will be releasing the colour on the 1st of August. This one is a dye candy one, and it's funny because I'd started this and then thought, what colour am I going to put next? Because I tried the orange and it just looked, to me, it just didn't look quite right side by side. And then this lovely one arrived, so I decided to go with it. And then this was another dye candy one that I bought at Perth in 2019, and I love it. And then this is a Stranded Dyeworks one, which was the Perth colourway, so it's quite a Perth jumper or cardi this, and this was from Perth too. So it was they've been sitting in my stash for a good 2-3 years, so I decided it was about time I did something with them. And then these are Spectrum fibre ones, which are lovely as well. I really like this base. I'm considering trying it in the shop. It's a lovely mix of merino. It's a 80% merino, 20% nylon. It's lovely and soft, but with a twist in it, so quite tempted to try it in the shop now. So as I said, I like making rainbow things and packing as much colour as possible. And when I tried it on earlier, I just made my, oh, I love it. So that's what we should be doing with our crafts, isn't it? Whatever makes us happy. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to show you or tell you just now. Not really. I'll try and sometimes when I get new yarn, and if I buy something that I really love, I'll maybe specially show you, but I don't think I'll do a stash acquisition or anything each time, because, well, I'd be embarrassed to share how much I get sometimes, because I can't help it. I can't resist minis. And when I've got an event coming up or something, I'll talk about what's going into the shop. I'm always happy to answer any questions if anyone's got, as I said. I'm looking at, let's see this one. It's reversed on the screen for me, so I'm having to think about it. This dress here is Promise by Heather of HG Designs Crochet, and it's a double knitting double knitting weight yarn, crocheted granny square dress. So I've got quite a stash of mini skeins that I used for making mine, and were perfect for it. I've got 1 or 2 bundles on the website just now, but I don't have a huge quantity. But it's those kind of things. If you ever see anything that I show and you want me to try and help you put together colours for something, because I know it's not always easy judging online, and sometimes it's easier to have somebody's opinion to help you. I'm always happy to help put together kits, or just find 2 or 3 colours that will go with what you've got already. I just love the chance to put colour together and play with yarn, so I'm always happy to do that. Yeah, I think that's everything to show you just now. I'll do a favourite pattern this time before we finish. So this is one of my most popular things on display at a yarn fair. Everybody always wants to kind of have a look and squish it and get a kit, and it's the Make Your Own Luck shawl by Lisa Ross. I made this a good while ago and I loved it so much I made a second one in different colours, and I've shown it a few times online, so if you follow me on social media you might have seen this already, but it's one of my most favourite patterns. So I of course made it a rainbow. It's a lovely big squishy shawl that fits really nicely around, and it's just lovely and cosy, especially for wintry days. And it uses 10 20 gram mini skeins and 100 grams of the contrast. And what I love about it is each section of colour has a different kind of pattern to follow. So you never get bored of knitting the same bit, if that makes sense, because sometimes with big shawls, I don't know, you get to a stage you're like, I'm fed up of doing the same thing over and over. And the other thing I loved about this is that this is the widest point when you're working on it. Let's see. Yeah, you're kind of working across like that bit. So it's not, again, some shawls when you're making them, you end up with like hundreds of stitches by the time you're finished, and that's just not really, I'd have to really, really love something in order to finish that, because I would just get fed up trying to do one row. You don't. I hate when you can't see progress on something. So that is a shawl pattern that I would highly recommend, and I'll try my best to share other ones as and when I feel it's right. This is the other version that I made with sort of more pastel colours. It was just such a fun pattern to work on, and I have a couple of kits in my shop just now for them, and I'm always happy to put one together if there were certain colours you liked, because I know not everybody is a rainbow person. So I can always put colours together if you want for anything I show. But that's definitely something I would recommend. Lisa has lots of lovely patterns online, sock ones and shawls, and she has a couple of garments too. And they're always fun and colourful and just a little bit different. So I would recommend following her. She's Paper Daisy Creations on social media. I think definitely on Instagram. Yeah, I think that's everything. Thank you very much if you stuck with me to the end, and for joining me on my first episode. Yeah, as I said, I'm always better behind the camera. That was my job previously. I worked behind cameras, so it's not something I'm always very comfortable on screen, but yeah, it's nice to know. I always like to get to know people behind a brand, because I think sometimes, especially with social media, everything can seem very just presented in the way that the people want you to see, not the actual person behind it. So it's nice to get to know somebody. So thank you for joining me today and getting to know me a little, and I'd love to hear more about you, what you like making, what colours you like, what your favourite yarn base is, because that's always something that I'm curious about, because I know everybody kind of goes for the one that they love best. I tend to stick to sock yarn base, because it can be used for anything, but I've fallen in love with chunky yarn recently as well, so and I'm always looking for different things to add to the shop, so it's nice just to know what suits everybody. Yeah, anyway, thank you for joining me, and I just thought I would show this. Oh mercy, there we go. There are so many beautiful reasons to be happy, because again, we tend to, especially with social media, focus on the negative a lot of the time, and it's nice to look for the positive side of things, and colour makes me happy, so I thought that it was the perfect top to wear today. Okay, thank you, bye.